Duluth, we need to grow our population. Why? Because growth is energy and vibrancy. It's investment, it's new, and it's also more people paying for our core city services. Sharing that expense is a real thing. You know, in the last census, our population was 86,697, just over 400 people since 2010. While regional centers in Minnesota grew by an average of 10%, we grew by 0.01%. We were once the third largest city in Minnesota, and today we're fifth, and within a few hundred residents of falling to sixth. That's not growth, it's stagnation. And we can't be okay with this. That's not sustainable, and that means we have to get serious about growing our housing stock. Not from 5 or 10 years from now, but next year. Growing our population means we have to get incredibly serious about the lack of rental and for-purchase housing options. We need housing across all income levels, including mid-market and even upper end. And our single most serious challenge is that Duluth is stuck in the middle. That lack of inventory drives up sale prices and actually creates an ever-growing pool of people who need more affordable housing options. Now, the city isn't in the business of building houses, and tiny houses that sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars are not the solution. But there are practical, tangible steps the next mayor and administration can take. 1, let's create more available building sites within city limits. You know, Duluth received $58 million in American Recovery Act money. $34 million of that has already been allocated, with half of that going to affordable housing. We have $24 million remaining. Let's use those ARPA funds to take down condemned structures, available land that already has utility and street connections, houses that are frankly causing blight in our neighborhoods. Let's also use those ARPA funds to do site prep and utility connections. While it may not be the city's job to build houses, it's absolutely in our lane to get building sites ready for development and to focus on preparing the street and utility structure right now that goes onto the back of the developer. And that can mean as much as an additional $100,000 in the expense column before they even start construction. The proposed 2024 budget completely allocates that $24 million, and right now none of it goes to these recommended strategies. Second, let's also engage our community's largest employers: Essentia, St. Luke's, Cirrus, Maurice's, Minnesota Power. They are desperate for market rate housing to retain employees and recruit new talent. The lack of quality housing across the income spectrum continues to be a serious issue. And if we don't move the needle soon, we risk losing these key employers. So what do? In Spencer, Indiana, these key employers put money on the table at closing to help employees buy down the purchase price of a new home. That home then comes with a title restriction. If the employee decides to sell that home in the near future, they sell back to the employer at that initial purchase price. That home is then available at that same purchase price for another employee. 3, let's make it a priority within planning, zoning, and permitting to turn around building plans. When it takes our neighbors weeks and it takes the city of Duluth months, builders simply build elsewhere. And 4, let's focus on downtown. 50% excess commercial space post-pandemic. That means opportunities for young professionals and empty nesters in a real residential downtown population, one that generates the demand for retail, restaurants, coffee shop, bookstores, grocery. And it also improves public safety with more eyes on things like vandalism, graffiti, and problem behaviors. And lastly, 5, let's take a regional approach. It's a reality that there's just more available building space in some of our neighbors. And while we still want to grow the population within Duluth city limits, some people are going to choose to live in Hermantown and Proctor and Esko and Superior and Two Harbors. And that's okay. They still shop, eat, and recreate in Duluth. That's a 1% general sales tax, a 0.5% sales tax that goes to our streets, food and beverage and lodging taxes that help promote our tourism industry. Duluth, the last census showed our population at 86,697. Again, while regional centers grew at an average of 10%. We were once the third largest city in Minnesota, and today we are fifth and within a few hundred residents of falling to sixth. That's not growth, it's stagnation, and we can't be okay with that. Duluth, thank you so much for being along with us on this journey. We are so close to the finish line on November 7th. I appreciate your support, and I look forward to working with you to implement these strategies in our next chapter.